We want the option to not involve police in non-criminal calls for help. We want 24/7 coverage that is independent of the police department, its budget, and its administration. So here we are tonight. We've decided that a way we can generate this kind of involvement by our community is to ask you all to be here, to take a deep and detailed look at a recent incident that could very well have easily and needlessly ended a man's life, Vincent Bryant. So our job tonight is to look squarely at what happened that night and to identify the kinds of changes that will get us to a place of compassionate care for our people. So to that end, we have asked Dr. Varhus to come. She is the project manager of the SCU task force and pilot program and so forth. And so hopefully she's going to give us an update and let you know how you can input into that process.
Thank you so much, Andrea, and thank you all for inviting me here tonight to be part of this incredibly important moment in the history of this fight in our town. I am officially here. I guess I'm here in the capacity of a city official. But I am also a fellow Berkeleyan, having grown up in Berkeley and been through the Berkeley schools and saw my own children through the Berkeley schools. So I feel like you are all part of my family. In my role as the Director of Health, Housing, and Community Services, I do oversee both mental health and public health and some other divisions. I've been in this role for a year, and for the past few months, I have been charged with leading this effort to create a specialized care unit. Over the years in Berkeley, I know people have been fighting for this unit for many years. There was a time maybe 15 years ago where people saw Berkeley as a coming model for crisis response. But over time, that model became decreasingly funded and also added increased police involvement. I do believe that our mental health staff care are deeply committed to equity and want to see something different. And more importantly, I believe that our city council and our city manager and our leadership knows that something has to change. So I've been charged with leading this work and have actually done so by forming a collaboration and by means of a stakeholder group with several community members, including some here. We're working with a consultant, RDA. I noticed they are also here tonight. Thank you, Nicole, for being here. It shows your heart and spirit is also engaged to begin this work, or I would say actually doing the work. So our first task, and I've been in conversation with many of you, is really to lead a deep community engagement process where we actually are talking to many, many people who have been involved in the crisis response. Either they have been a client of the crisis response system, they have friends or family or others that have been part of that system. They, people that of diverse communities, Black people, brown people, LGBTQ people, people who really are an integral part of our community who need to be able to weigh in multiple ways in order to provide their experience around what they have seen, what they have felt, what they have expected, and what they expect would be a much more dignified and caring crisis system that does not involve the police. So we've been planning that community engagement process over the last month and really mapped out, and thanks to some other people on this call, mapped out many of the community organizations, the individuals, the government officials, the different constituency, the care providers, an elaborate list of people that we really need to engage in a deep process. And there are many, many, many ways in which people can participate in this process. Within the next couple of weeks, we will be making live a website that is not on the City of Berkeley's website, which will probably make some of you happy. It will be on RDA's website that will both map out all of the different ways that people can participate. Some ways will be via online meetings such as this one, where we hope to be able to host larger forums where people can break out into breakout groups and give feedback. And we also expect to get on the streets and communicate with, seek input from community members, whether they're people experiencing homelessness, people that work or attend a variety of community organizations for support or connection or whatever it is, and do both individuals and individual interviews and live focus groups. We also know that not everybody has access to technology, so we're looking at creating a call line where people can simply call in and say what they think about our crisis response, share their experience, share what they think, and we'll provide some script opportunities for that. We do hope to also provide a comment section on that website where people can just put in comments. So it could be that you participate in a focus group and then you forget you wanted to say something, so you can type in that comment. We are going to be collecting data in vast amounts from all of the community over the next 2 months. I also want to say something about the way in which that information needs to be sought out. People that have experienced crisis, and many of us that are just traumatized from the secondary trauma of being part of this movement, it's a very difficult thing to talk about your own experience, and can be triggering for both people that may be doing interviews and people interviewing. So we are going to be looking at ways in which we can engage people that are already working on the ground, have relationships with folks, and really identify ways where we can work with people in ways that will really value their incredibly important experience-based input, not just as subjects that you talk to, but as people with lived experience that have something to say. And we're going to take some of those stories, obviously in a caring and anonymous way, and really try to collect not just the quote data of what people experience, but the actual narrative, so that those who are privileged enough to be able to stand outside of it in their daily lives can actually read a narrative that will actually help them connect to what's really needed. So over the next couple of months, we will be engaging in that community process. We've understood from community members that a real community engagement, and not a just we said we would do this, so we're going to do it kind of thing that the city just does what it wants to do. This is really going to reflect what the community expresses and needs. And a report will be written up. We will seek input or feedback around that from the community. And we will be presenting the real experience to the city council and city manager, and they will be able to sort of look at what can be done feasible to kick a pilot off as soon as possible. Lastly, I want to say funding obviously is always something that we need to consider, but I don't think we're talking so much about a pilot as a rollout. So maybe it's a phase one where we do a pilot, quote pilot, but we're really looking at longer term implementation. So we learn something from what we do with a full on intention of continuing it and moving it forward and making it better and better and better. So that's what I have to say about the SCU at this time. I'm also happy to come back at another point in time if people would like additional updates or information.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vargas, for laying all of that out for us. Obviously, this is it's a complex issue, and it's going to have complex solutions. So the more people whose input we can get, the better. So thank you again, everyone, for taking the time to be here. And I just want to take a moment to point you towards the chat. We are, throughout the event, we'll be dropping a set of action items that you can select from as kind of follow-ups to this, should you decide to stay engaged and involved. And also we have dropped some notes on accessibility in there as well, about the options for closed captioning and yes. So check out your chat for that. And if you have any questions, you can message the host as well. So I would like to echo something that Lisa said, which is that having to tell your story, if you have been through if you've experienced trauma, is in itself traumatic. And there is secondary trauma engaged or connected to that as well for people who are involved in the active listening and sharing of that experience. So that is why I am especially honored to welcome our next speaker, because he has lived through the sort of trauma that we are here to discuss tonight, and is still living and recovering from it. So I would like to welcome Vincent Bryant to the screen, as well as Ilana Auerbach of Berkeley Cop Watch.
Thank you, Maria. And I would just like to speak about the events that just took place after I got shot. And I don't know any of you guys, but I do know Ilana. And thank God for her. She's been a great support. And so there's things that I try to ignore it. I right when I think I'm getting better, it comes back. You know, one day I'll feel great. I'm like, okay, I'm getting over it. But then I got to remind myself, it hasn't even been 3 months, and I'm still healing physically, and I'm also still healing emotionally. And even though I want to think I'm a tough guy, this took all the toughness out of me, or it made me really look at me as being a human being with emotions, feelings, and concerns. And so and I thank God for this organization, Cop Watch, because I still wouldn't have, if it wasn't for you guys, I still probably be, you know, just thinking, and that, you know, but I don't want to think no more. I want actions to take place, because this happened to me. And like I told Ilana early on, you know, I go throughout this whole process, what you're going to hear from me and you're probably gonna get sick of it, but I got shot point blank. This is how I feel. And and you know, and I've had 4 surgeries. They just took off the I call it a jaw brace. I don't know the medical term. I don't know how to pronounce it. But anyways, it was a jaw brace. And they just took it off last Wednesday. And I thought that would make me feel better. But it makes me even think more about what happened to me on January 2nd in Berkeley. And I mentioned this to people I speak to about this, but it's not a lot of people, that sooner or later, if it wasn't, if Cop Watch wasn't around, or if any ACLU wasn't around, sooner or later, my voice would be heard. But I'm glad I'm not waiting for me to get healed. I'm glad it's happening now, in the now. And I got one more surgery. They call it a final surgery, where they're talking about is it going to be a bone graft right now. To me, I know I sound different when I speak. Like I have an impediment. It's not because I have an impediment. I wasn't born with the impediment. It's because I got shot in my jaw on the right side, and it came out the left side. And I'm glad it did it that way. If it did it any other way, I don't think I could face life. Because I don't want to be a vegetable. I do, you know, I could have been very well a paralytic or a vegetable, or you know, somebody who's just in a comatose. And I thank God that I'm able to eat on my own, use the restroom on my own, download Zoom on my own, and participate in these events. And so for me to you guys are getting the raw, uncut. You know, you're not getting a story that happened 2 years ago or a year ago. It happened, you know, recently. So everything that you see that I'm going through, it's real. It's not afterburners or vapors of what happened. It's real time. My emotions, my look, my thoughts, and me wanting to continue this campaign. I call it a campaign. And you guys might not look at it as a campaign, but I look at it as a campaign. And I know deep down inside, I have so much. Not the word. I don't want to use the word passion. The closest word I can think of, fire. You know, but I'm a nonviolent person, and eventually, sooner or later, everything you guys have been fighting for many years, it's going to come to pass. You're going to get what you want, either by continuing to do what you do, or even if you guys drop out, I'm not going to drop out. I may look like I'm tired and lazy, and it's a real strain on me, but deep down, I'm going to continue this campaign, this fight for justice. And I don't want this to happen to nobody. You know, I wouldn't wish, I would not wish this on my worst enemy. Yeah, I would not wish this on my worst enemy, because what I went through, 3 days of living hell, I'm living, but I'm in hell for 3 days on a ventilator. And me, why I'm in a ventilator, questioning myself and asking God, what did I do wrong? Did I step out of bounds? And I'm sorry if I stepped on your foot. So that this situation's had me questioning my higher power. But you know what? I came out of this, and what I did question him. I thought I did something wrong that night. But I didn't do anything wrong, because I've had time to think about it. Think. I didn't do anything wrong. So
You
I'm
didn't
gonna
do anything wrong,
I'm
Vincent.
gonna try to come to as many as events as I can, and I'm gonna always tell my story. And it's always gonna get more better, and it's gonna, as it gets better for the community, somebody must increase and somebody must decrease. In Berkeley Police Department, they're gonna decrease until they get their ship in order.
That's right. May it be so now. Thank you, Vincent. And Vincent,
Thank you.
just want to say that you absolutely did nothing wrong. You did nothing wrong, and you are a hero. People are posting in the chat justice for you and thanking you, and I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful that you're here. And thank you for your courage. Thank you for your courage. And you and there are others who haven't seen this video that the BPD put out to really control the narrative, which you'll see it's hard to control, but I don't want to color the field. So I just want to encourage first, my friend Vincent, I just want you to really take care of yourself. And this is for everyone when we're watching this, that you really have to we have to take care of ourselves. Okay. And so if, taking deep breaths, staying in our bodies, and if it's too much, then turn off the video, then walk away, turn off the audio. Okay. So we really are counting on everyone to take care of themselves through this. I also encourage you to get a paper and pen so you can take notes of what you're noticing, what you're seeing. And if you'd like to drop some questions into the chat, we will be stopping, as Mariah said, a couple of times to answer some questions that we've received in the chat. And just to set up the video, so give a little bit of background, and it has been such a pleasure these past couple months, Vincent, to, I really consider you a friend, and to really get to know you and get to know your story. And so with your permission, I like to tell the folks a little bit about your story. Yeah, okay. So that day on January 2nd, it was a Saturday, and that afternoon, Vincent had been just released from John George Psychiatric Hospital, where he had spent a couple of nights. And he has a mental health diagnosis. And Vincent had been unhoused for the first time, living on the streets since December 8th. So it was just a few weeks. Couple days he spent at John George. January 2nd, that evening, he's hungry. He goes into Walgreens. He picks up a sandwich, a bag of barbecue Lay's, a Pepsi, and a bag of M&Ms. He walks to the counter. He empties his pocket. He has $1. Oh, but also he has a return item. So he puts a return item with the receipt on the counter at Walgreens. By the way, the food amount, the money, the cost for the food that he was wanting, $14. The cost of the return item, $55. Okay, Vincent puts that down, goes to walk out of the store. An employee of Walgreens says, "Hey, you need to pay for all that food. You need to pay the whole thing." The glass doors, as you're going to see in this video, are not operational. And so he can't get out. And so feeling trapped and paranoid, and then you're going to see what unfolds. So you're going to be hearing, because we're going to be hearing police radio dispatch. So there will be a lot of police codes. Most of them are just logistical. There's one code that's 211, that means robbery. There's another one that's 5150, which means that the person is in mental health crisis potentially, and they could be harmful to themselves or to another. And the last thing I want to tell you is most of this video is made up of body cam footage, and for some reason, don't ask me why, the body cam, once the officers turn on the body cam, it takes 30 seconds for the audio to go on. So you'll be noticing a lag in the audio. You'll be seeing things but not hearing. All right, so I want everyone to take a deep breath, really center yourself in your body, feel the earth, feel the support, whatever supports you. And whenever we're ready, Tessa, I'm going to ask you to start the video. Thank you, Vincent, for being here.
Thank you, Ilana. Thank you, Vincent. And I just want to add, if you can see the chat from your computer, people are sending out a lot of messages to you. So I wanted to, thanks for letting me interrupt here. I wanted to introduce one of our speakers, Gigi Crowder, wished to jump in before we watch the video. So if we could please spotlight Gigi.
I'm very upset. Said, Vincent, this will change. We can't continue to allow police to get away with hurting people from our communities. It's just not okay. So no, I will be giving your number, your family. I made a commitment when I was working in Alameda County that I would be there for those who are the individuals who suffer most. And for in my belief system, that's individuals who live with mental illness. You're very bright, you're very intelligent. It's obvious. You spend some time at John George. We are criminalizing what is a medical condition, and it's just not going to be okay. So just the way I stand up for everyone else and treat individuals as if they're a part of my family, tonight you have become a part of my family, and I'm going all in to make sure justice is served for you. I just had to get that out. I was deeply moved by you being able. You will never be alone. At NAMI, our motto is you are not alone, where you have family, and a big one. We'll be introducing you to other survivors, and you'll be able to turn your pain into purpose. I think you've already done that, but I just had to get that off my chest. And I might not be able to watch this video because you're family now and you've shared what happened, but just know I'm ride or die. I'm right there with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you again, Vincent. And I just want to reiterate, you do not need to watch this video, as Gigi just said. The entire screening of it is probably going to take about 40 minutes. That's with the pauses and little bits of conversation we'll have while it's on. So watch if that is what moves you. We're going to have some analysis. Get up, stretch, turn your video off, and take care of yourself, please. Tessa, when you're ready.
What you are about to see is a community briefing video regarding an incident that occurred on Saturday, January 2nd at 8:40 p.m., where an officer discharged their firearm while trying to detain a suspect who had just committed a robbery of a Walgreens at 2190 Shattuck Avenue. This incident began when an officer spotted the robbery suspect on Bancroft Way and followed him into the courtyard of UC Berkeley's Tang Center at 2222 Bancroft Way. When the officer contacted the suspect pulled out a 13-foot-long metal chain and threatened the officer. The officer called for assistance and several officers responded to form a perimeter around the courtyard in an effort to take the suspect into custody. Officers kept their distance and tried to get the suspect to put down the chain he had armed himself with. A negotiator-trained officer attempted to de-escalate the suspect, but he continued to speak and act in an erratic and threatening manner. A group of officers equipped with less than lethal foam munitions alongside officers assigned as lethal cover contacted the suspect in an effort to take him into custody. During this contact, the suspect advanced towards the officer's position despite their orders to drop the chain. Less than lethal munitions were fired by officers, and one officer discharged their firearm. In the first sequence, you will see videos from the interior of Walgreens, along with audio from Berkeley Police Dispatch. In the second sequence, you will see body-worn camera footage from the officer who initially detained the suspect. In the third sequence, you will see body-worn camera footage from the officers who were involved in the attempt to take him into custody, which ultimately led to one of the officers discharging their firearm. A word of caution. The images and information you are about to see may be disturbing. When a police officer uses force to arrest a suspect or defend against an attack, it can be graphic and difficult to watch. In addition, there may be strong language used by those shown in the video. Viewer discretion is advised, especially for young children and sensitive viewers.
Berkeley is, we're getting a 211 via chain at Walgreens, 2190 Shattuck. Adam 4, 5, and 3.
4, I'm actually approaching 97 now. Do we have a description in that direction of flight?
He's gonna be a black male, 850, 6 feet, 195 pounds, a gray sweatshirt, black pants, and still trying to get further.
5 code 6 from the west.
Last seen eastbound on Kittredge, and it's gonna be uh, 6 feet long chain. He came into the store and took the items, threatened RP with a long chain, and he was on foot. Taken were food products.
10, you could attach me.
10 check.
1397.
13 copy.
Alright,
And
copy, I'm 97 there.
and be advised, the RP states that the responsible pulled the long chain out and pulled it out like he was going to swing it.
There's 497 in the area of the 211.
That's 4 copy.
7 going to the discount.
He's gonna be a black male, 850, 6'9", check that, 6 feet, 195 pounds, gray sweatshirt, black pants.
22 attached.
I'm sorry, was that 22 going 97 on Shattuck?
Negative, just attach me.
Copy.
Adam 7's wearing a hat.
The RP didn't mention anything about a hat. RP's an employee and thinks that responsible is 5150.
I got it. I'll be 1194 on a subject, Bancroft, east of Fulton.
Copy 1194 Bancroft east of Fulton. Units copy that.
Or I'm with him.
4 check with Adam 7.
6 track my current and show me 97 with them as well.
Copy.
I'm less lethal. Right, center relay. Got the chain. How about you with less lethal?
You with Leslie, so 33.
29.
we're making some space here before going on to the next section. So just to recap, we just watched where the evening began at the Walgreens and the call that went forward. As Andrea noted in the chat, the police were informed that potentially this was what they called a 5150 situation, meaning that the person they were dealing with, that this was a mental health call. Specifically, it means that the code means that the person is potentially could do harm to themselves or to others. I don't see any other clarifying questions in the chat. So we're going to move on now to this will be an assortment of angles from various police officers' body-worn cameras.
Stop! Come on! As soon as you shoot, I'm taking off your head. Stop! Wait, hold on. Hold on. We gotta get us surrounded.
Watch the staircase.
Hey, bro, just drop the chain, bro. Just drop the chain.
Drop the chain.
Not like last time. Just relax, bro.
No.
Hey, someone get that corner to make sure that's not an exit.
I'm going to take every single one of you out. As soon as you see those bullets don't affect me, I'm coming after your family. I'm going to hell.
Copy, subject is being detained.
No.
Adam 12, could you do page 50?
We are staging them, they're dispatching.
Shoot me in the back.
He has the chain in his
Shoot me
hand.
in the back.
We don't want to shoot you, bro. Drop the chain.
Fuck you.
Just drop the chain, pal. Do me a favor, drop the chain.
Family's first. If you don't chill the fuck out,
Just
no bullets are gonna hurt me.
drop the chain, bro.
No. Just talk to us. Let us help you out. Let's figure out what's going on. Just talk to us. I'm gonna overhand everybody. This is solid gold. Just drop the chain. Solid gold chain.
Alright, he's in the courtyard. We got him pretty much pinned in here. He is still armed with the chain and non-compliant.
Come on!
Copy, the courtyard pin in here and still has the chain non-compliant.
No! Just drop the chain! Come on! Just drop it! Shoot me! No!
That's for we just get somebody is blocked westbound
It won't work! Everybody's died because he shot me!
You need to pick that up.
Everybody's dead! The black kid is dead! Shut up! Shut up!
Sir.
Hey, dog!
Sir. Hey, what's your name, man?
Shut up!
What's your name? My name's Officer Gibson, bro. What's your name?
Noise check.
Noise check? What's your name? Sir. I'd love to talk to you, man, but I can't hear you. You gotta speak up.
Hey, I'm not lying, man. Your family will be the first if you don't chill out. If you don't chill out, you guys get a second chance. The ones who aren't a coward, but the ones who acted like a coward, when you knew Heaven's Gate got kicked in, I'm gonna shoot you to whatever planet you want to go to. Other than that, no. No. Talk to us.
Sir.
We got plenty over here.
Sir. Sir, what's your name? Dude, we can get this figured out. We can walk this back easy.
Hey, if you talk to me one more time, I'm gonna make you watch me kill your family. God says children, men, cattle, everything. So knock it off, please. Give it a break for 3 minutes at least.
one of your folks over here. We'll make
If
that
you
call.
guys leave, I might get a blood stain. God, he gives his life for it if I give even a little bit of blood. But if I kill somebody for his name, man, you guys, fuck, man, you guys don't even know. Matter of fact, I J-hooked all you guys, and I will make you guys watch me hurt your family. Do it. Do it, bitch. Remember what happened to the last guy that shot me? My weapon of choice is a fucking gun. But God wants me to use this on your ass. Like you've been chaining him around. I want to shoot you in the brains where your face blows off.
Nobody, If one of you guys want to be lethal, say hi and I will be fucking hands-on if we need it. Alright?
J-hook all those motherfuckers! Drop them! Not my mind, I don't want to be God! I just want to be light.
You're lethal, Logo.
I'll fuck
You're
up
the
those
lethal.
gods! Just like you! Just like, this is Revelation, just gentlemen. This is how it's going down.
So I tried.
America's a lockdown. No
So we gave him about a minute.
no
So
CIA, no
you're
bullet,
welcome there.
no silver bullet,
You have a contact team.
not a million ladies. Only one can stop me. Oh!
All right, hey buddy, can you do me a favor and just sit down and talk to us? Can you do me that favor? I'd appreciate
Only
it.
if you see what I see right now.
Okay.
Woo! Oh my God!
I'm right on here.
Okay, copy. What's your
Your
name?
eyesight was taken from you from Sam. Mine wasn't.
Okay, I just want to invite everyone to be sure that you're taking care of yourself here. Again, if you need to stand up, stretch, take a breath. I just want to add where we're at here. So this is the, is it on the screen? This is the trained negotiator that has just stepped into the picture. I invite you to, to continue taking in what does this trained negotiator add to the situation? How do they de-escalate it? I notice now that they are carrying a weapon. I also notice that the first words out of their mouth was, "Hey, buddy." The other officer was referring to Vincent as bro. I know that neither this language is certainly not respectful. To me, it is demeaning, and it's also not in line with the de-escalation training the BPD is supposed to receive. So we will watch the rest of the video at this point. Thank you.
Hey, what's your name?
I can see. You can't. I can see in the dark.
Hey, buddy.
Python.
Hey, buddy, can you see me? Can you see me over here?
If you can tell me, describe that picture right there by my feet, then I'll drop the chain.
All right, I can't see it.
Yeah.
Can you describe
all
it to
you
me?
guys are being wasted.
Can you describe it to me?
Man, it's pretty fucked up, man.
Okay.
This whole scene right here is a picture of you guys. And God is looking down.
All right.
At one face.
All right.
You guys are one body.
All right, I hear what you're saying. Tell me about the picture.
Okay, the picture's right above your head.
Okay.
And it's dropping like, I don't know, it's like those things that Sam put in your legs, the click clicks.
Okay.
The plastic toys.
Okay. Plastic toys. Can you tell me more about it?
Women are okay. The man that played cowards, hey, I'm not ruthless.
All right.
But you will be sent to a planet of your choice. The ones that show like they deserve a second chance, they stay.
All right, I hear that you're not ruthless and that the women are okay. Can you do me a favor and sit down?
If you can tell me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what type of trees these are?
Oh,
They're called J-hooks.
J-hooks. All right. Can you do me a favor and put the chain down and just talk to me?
Come and get me. I'm right here.
We don't have to do all that. We don't have to do all that.
I don't care about Black Lives Matter. I care about God matters.
All right.
Ah!
All right.
Ah!
Can you just put the chain down and we'll keep talking? We don't have to come get you, but could you put the chain down and we'll talk more about it? We'll talk more about the pictures and the trees. Can you just do me that favor? And we'll talk more about the trees and the pictures.
Come on, little toy soldiers. Come on, little toy soldiers with your little toy penny gun. Come on, I'm right here, technology.
Uh-huh.
Come on, toy soldiers. Over here! Over here!
Who are you talking to? Are you talking to us or are you talking to somebody else?
Here they come! From
Okay.
above!
Can you just put the chain down? And we're gonna keep talking. Okay?
Chinese, probably maybe 2,000 stay live, the rest are dead. Go ahead and shoot, bitch.
No, nobody wants to shoot. Just put the chain down and we'll talk about.
Chinese.
We'll talk about it all.
Hitler will be resurrected for the Chinese. Little toy soldiers. Come on with your little petty guns.
Tell me
Let's
more.
go.
Tell me.
Then I'm going to send you to hell. You're going to stay there. I'm going to come and visit you. Then I'm going to play doctor.
All right. Can we talk more about the pictures? Can you tell me more about that? And so we got voice of voice. So far he's not responsive. He still has to change. We've got plenty of officers on scene. Can we just keep talking? Can you keep talking to me and tell me about the pictures?
Angels! You know who life those belong to? Heavens!
All right.
Gay!
You got to be where you got Navarro behind. Huh? You got Navarro on the other side.
Let's
of him.
draw the scene here.
Peeking her head out.
That's our stuff. Going back.
Can we get Navarro to
Designed to do one thing. Protect God's property.
Okay, is that what you're doing right now? Is that what you're doing right now? Are you protecting God's property?
Reverse their sensors. Electrician, reverse lightning. Electrician men, reverse their sensors. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ah! Ah! Oh man. I waited so long. I didn't want you to think I was a coward.
Hey, buddy, can you see
Ah!
me? Hey, can you see me right now? Can you see me? You see me over here?
Thank you. Reverse the electrician. Reverse the vehicle's lights. Inward, outward, back, inward, out. Refraction. Like they attempted on God.
Units on that north side. Just watch out for your crossfire.
Thank you. Thank you. Show them true blue. All the colors. The new element. Black. Goose. Half ego.
Here though.
No, I'm not. Half star. Half man. No man, all God. How's that work?
Okay. We're the contact team.
Copy.
Going to hell for you guys. It was worth it because I'm obedient. I'm obedient. COVID-19, I'm here, I am.
From the north side, from Van. Okay, all right.
When you broke down the other day, you tested the secret. What were you guys, you were thinking? You let Sam take part of your fucking brain out, and I'm here to give you.
Hey.
Where's that guy? Lance.
Copy, I'm gonna come over here.
The one that you don't want it, you tonight. You don't want it.
Yeah, just takes my forward. Copy, we're in good shape, and I'll talk to you then.
Drop the chain! Drop the chain! As you're warning, drop the chain and we can hit that. Get it! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Show me your hands! Spread! Spread your arms! Do not move!
Oh. Oh. Let go of your hands, bud. Let go of your hands. Let go of your hands. Let go. There you go. There you go. Cool. Yeah. Search him. Roll him over.
Shots fired. Suspect is down. Roll via feet.
Shots fired, rolling via feet.
Where is his head?
Looks like it's in the face.
Close to the face.
Let's see your face, bud. Step forward.
We have one round. We've got a head one.
All right. Does anybody have a med kit or anything? Can I put pressure on it?
Trauma kit? Trauma.
Does anybody have a trauma kit?
Where's the wound at?
It's on his chin.
Give me some light. Give me some light.
It's on his chin.
Fuck you!
We need less lethal over here.
Won't work.
You got less lethal? Go.
Because you shot me.
Hurry up.
Your buddy's dead. The black bitch is dead. Shut up. Shut up. Hey, dog! Shut up. Oh, man. I waited so long.
Yeah. I'm gonna stay on the shoulder.
Thank you, reverse the attrition. Reverse the vehicle's life. Inward, outward, back inward, out. Refraction. Like they had taken on God. Thank you. Thank you.
moving north.
Towards DC?
Yeah.
Drop the chain! Drop the chain! You get warning! Drop the chain! You can get hit with that thing! Hit it! Stay on the ground! Stay on the ground! Drop the chain! Drop the chain! You get warning! Drop the chain! You can get hit with that thing! Hit it! Stay on the ground! Stay on the ground! Don't be your hands! Spread it! Spread your arms! Do not move!
As a result of this incident, the suspect was transported to a local hospital for treatment. The suspect is expected to recover. The district attorney has charged the suspect with 3 felonies: armed robbery, assault with a deadly weapon, resisting an executive officer. This incident is the subject of ongoing investigations by the Berkeley Police Homicide Detail and the Internal Affairs Detail. In accordance with our policy, the Alameda County District Attorney's Office was also notified of this incident, and the involved officer was placed on administrative leave. These investigations are intended to gather all available information in order to determine if the officer's actions fell within applicable law and department policy. While these investigations are still ongoing, we understand our community's interest in a significant event such as this, and we are also presenting these videos in accordance with state law. Once completed and reviewed, the full investigations will be available as well.
Okay, so we've asked you to take a breath and to just kind of take care of yourself and know that we're gonna fight. So you folks have been doing a great job of dropping their observations into the chat, and we continue to ask you to do that. I'm just wondering, is there any more video to show, or have we finished? We finished. Okay. So what we're going to ask you to do now is we'd like to invite our panelists to speak. And we would love Carly. What we're asking here is we're asking, the fundamental question is, you're involved in a non-police mental health response. Carly, if you became aware of the situation, how would you and your organization have responded? What are you seeing, and what is your approach? How does it differ?
Well, I mean, first off, approach with some fucking compassion, part of my language.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing that we saw, the very first thing that we heard when the audio became available was the officer screaming at him aggressively. And he had a gun out, and not even a quote unquote less lethal gun, like actual live rounds pointed at him. You know, when we see somebody who looks as if they could, actually, let me back all the way up. When we first arrive on scene, we have this little acronym, BAPE. We breathe, assess, plan, and then engage. And it's as if those first three things were not done at all by the officers on scene. They just automatically engaged, automatically escalated, and there were a ton of people with guns on him. You know, so what I would have done is not call him buddy or bro, because I don't know if he would appreciate those things. But I would probably start off with first acknowledging that he's having an experience, like, hey, you look like something's going on. What, is there a way that I can help you? And then also contract for safety. Instead of screaming and demanding that he drop the chain, we could say, hey, you know, somebody could get hurt with that. I'm here to help. Are you willing to maybe set that down while we speak with each other? You know, sorry, I'm a little taken aback. I haven't watched the videos yet, and
Sorry, honey. Yeah,
it's good.
In fairness, just to the participants in the thing, we had expected Asante Boykin to come, and something came up for her, so Carly generously offered to step in to this situation. So in fairness, I'm sorry that it's such a dramatic video to.
It's okay. It's just it's hard to say everything that was wrong in that video because there were so many things that were wrong. You know, he was saying threatening things throughout, but he was not behaving in a threatening manner with the chain unless he was being advanced upon. And so really they never should have advanced on him. And what is the point of having quote unquote less lethal weapons if they're going to shoot live rounds at the same time that they are shooting the foam rounds?
Excellent point. Gigi, would you like to offer your thoughts? What occurs to you after having seen it?
Well, as I shared, I wasn't going to traumatize myself by watching scene by scene. So I thought I would stay in my bedroom and then, you know, do something. Then the noise, just hearing it. I think sometimes certain communities are so traumatized by law enforcement, just seeing without watching what happened to Vincent. We also just the sight of a cop, the smell of a cop, we just get nervous. And so I take care of myself by not putting myself in a position to take in even more. So I don't need to be convinced that they handled it wrong. As soon as you tell me the individual lived with a mental illness, I know unless they have a deadly weapon, there's no reason for law enforcement to be armed. None whatsoever. After a tragic killing in Walnut Creek, I asked one cop, from that force, what would you have done differently? And he said, oh, you retreat and you wait. That you retreat is time and distance.
Amen.
Let him vent, let him rant, let him do whatever. But I respect cops who go into situations with the take them alive mentality, take them without harm. That's when you, just like a school teacher, taking a D or an F student to an A, that's when you're really teaching. If you're a police officer, getting a true bad guy and bringing him to justice if he really committed a crime alive, so he can serve the time. But when you shoot and kill people, you've become the judge and the jury, and it happens so much with people with mental health challenges, especially when their skin tone is darker. I believe the skin tone becomes the weapon because we have such bias toward unarmed African-American men, whether they live with mental illness or not. But if they have a mental illness, if you look at the statistics, they're more likely to be put in harm's way. So it's like Black, male, live with a mental illness, you're born with a bullseye on your back. and they get away with it. So I'm hoping some of the fight is at the DA's office with getting those charges dropped. That definitely needs to happen. He should not be charged with a crime because he was living with a mental illness, and likely he did not do anything that warranted even Walgreens calling the cops. It's just that black skin causes people to think bad guy. So I think there needs to be policies. I mean, I wish we can charge cops with hate crimes. Because if you have statistically, if you see it happening so often, why would we not be able to charge them with the hate crimes? We all shift our behaviors based on consequences. I eat too much, I gain weight, the consequences, I'm walking around with extra weight. If a cop shoots and kills someone, there should be a consequence. He should have to prove that he did it justified. These DAs are taking far too long to even do the investigation, and lots of times they're not independent investigations. So the DA works with the police department, and we need we need internal affairs to be out of it and external unbiased approaches. So for me, with this young man, there's so much that Berkeley should be doing. It should have happened with Kayla. That didn't happen. We got to change some laws, change some approaches that we use so that cops stop and think, wait a minute, I don't want my reputation tarnished. I want to leave this situation doing the least amount of harm to this person who lives with a mental health challenge.
Well, let me, as a matter of fact, thank you for mentioning. I wonder if we can get Maria Moore into the spotlight as well. And I'd like to ask each of you, can you tell us a little bit, what is, we have something called crisis intervention training. And the police, so some people are saying what we need is more training for the police. We need to put direct some resources into crisis intervention training and this kind of thing. And, but I was a police review commissioner for a couple of years, and I had the opportunity to see what the police mean by de-escalation. It's very different than what I understand to be de-escalation. I wonder if you each could talk about what would a de-escalation tactic really look like in that situation? If you were called to the scene, how would your de-escalation look different from that? The police believe that negotiator was attempting to de-escalate. In their mind, that's de-escalation. So I'm curious what tactics you might recommend.
I do a lot of talking. I'm gonna give somebody else a chance, but otherwise I'm gonna jump in. Because this is the kind of thing that keeps me up at night thinking about how we can do it better. The bottom line is he was the person at most risk because they had guns and he didn't. So we first have to reframe where the danger is. The danger is that he's unsafe. So building a relationship with this person who lives with mental health challenges, and you know it because they mentioned 5150. So saying, hey, we got a problem here. Can you help us solve it? I'm gonna sit here and wait you out, and maybe, we can talk about how we can solve this with the least amount of harm done to either of us, because at that moment, and he was a person who talked scripturally. So often individuals of faith. So you can make a connection through that. But you can't be rushing back to get your donuts. You have to be in a position where you're willing to be the hero as a law enforcement agent by solving it with the least amount of risk to the individual, not to yourself, but to the individual.
What do you think, Carly? How would you guys handle that? How would you, if you got a call, it says, we got an individual with a chain and hungry.
All he wanted was some food. So yeah, like I said, we would show up on scene, we would contract for safety, see if he's willing to put down the chain, And Gigi's 100% right. Listen to what he's saying. Find things that you can connect with him on. Like, oh, you're speaking about God. Let's connect on that level. You're speaking about pictures. Let's connect on that level. And their trained negotiator kind of sort of like halfway made a tiny bit of an attempt to connect with him on the picture part, but she had such a lack of warmth and compassion in her voice, and particularly in her stance, especially since she was holding a firearm. It doesn't matter that those munitions were less likely to kill him. You know, she still had a gun. So, I mean, that's like the first thing. Don't have a gun. Guns are not therapeutic, you know?
Yeah.
But Gigi's absolutely right. You build a connection with that person. You build a relationship with that person in that moment. And oftentimes our tactic is to offer food. We thankfully have an RV that we go out in with snacks and waters and sodas and stuff. We successfully brought somebody out of the middle of the road one night by offering an apple and a Capri Sun. And that's really all it took. And the poor man was hungry. And I saw him throw something at the beginning. And I'm wondering if that's that food that he had gone in and purchased. So he was probably still hungry.
Right. Right.
You've got to address those most basic needs first. And that will help at least bring the person back to earth.
One of the things we're trying to do in Contra Costa County is have a non-police response. So who would respond instead? And I think sometimes a peer who's been there in that same situation, get them to the scene, get a family member to the scene, get social workers to the scene, people with the skill set. You can, you know, if we're more appropriately using money and not putting it all into the police department, we can afford to have approaches that would pretty much take the burden off of law enforcement, because they don't carry the skill set. They go to school for what, a year in the academy? Social workers have to go for first 4 years undergrad, then you got to prove things on tests, and then people who have living experience, who've been there before, can come in and diffuse a situation and say, hey, you don't want to, and just make a connection faster than any other individual because of that. So I think there's so many other options besides because cops get there fast, then they're who you use for a medical condition. So I'm really hoping that in Alameda County, in Oakland, I guess, that EMS approach would work with someone. But I know this started from a crime, but as soon as they realized he had a mental illness, it stopped being a crime. It's at that point, when they realized he probably lived with a mental illness, then there was no crime anymore over a Snickers or whatever that he may have, quote unquote, shoplifted.
So we have a couple of questions that we might want to ask. First of all, Maria Moore, do you want to go ahead and I hear that you're ready to comment, and so we'd love to hear from you. How are you doing? What are you thinking and feeling?
Yeah, that was hard to watch. I'm still a little shaken up by seeing that. It just kind of brings to my mind how Kayla felt that night with all those cops there. And it was the same situation. There was no empathy. There was no de-escalation. There was no talking. You know, Kayla was, you know, she was schizophrenic. She was known to Berkeley Police Department. They knew her. The officer at the scene had assisted in 2 other 5150s when Kayla was at our parents' house. So, you know, that they're not capable of this. What they understand is the urban chill tactics of control and command and force. You know, the whole incident with Kayla took about 30 minutes for them to kill her. You know, the officer, before she even talked to her, ran a warrant check. Now, why would you run a warrant check on a 5150, on a wellness check? Why would you do that? It's because they were tired of her. They were tired of doing what they were put in charge to do. So what we need to do is make sure that cops are not in charge, or first responders, to these calls. And that's just how it has to be. And we, you know, the Police Review Commission is a joke. The way that they treated our family, it was a sham. It was a sham because Kayla wasn't killed by a gun. We had to have the police then police themselves. Well, we saw how that turned out.
Yeah.
Not very well. So, you know, watching that was hard, but I think everyone who's on this panel, on this call, needs to understand that this is what, you know, people who are dealing with mental illness, people who are Black and brown, are dealing with all the time. And we, you know, Berkeley, you know, the richest city in the world, we have to do better. We really do. You know, Greenwood retiring is a first step, but we got to get someone else to replace him that's not going to just step into those old shoes and start doing the same routine. Things have got to change. You know, so I'm hopeful that that will happen, but you know, the fact is Kayla was with her roommate and her caregiver that night. There was absolutely no reason for them to take her in. Just like I'm looking at some of the comments in the chat, that, you know, the officer could have looked around and said, hey, you know what, your caregiver's there, your roommate's there, we're going to leave. We don't see anything wrong. But the officer, our Gwendolyn Brown, had to make a point because she was tired of having to deal with people in crisis. So, you know, it's going to change. You know, we as a community have to make that happen. But, you know, with what's going on in Berkeley with the specialized care unit is makes me hopeful, you know, and I think this is something that we can get done, and it is happening. And, you know, this will probably help a lot of people avoid what we just saw, because it's unacceptable.
Thanks, Maria. And let me just catch up with the chat a little bit. Somebody asked if there was a lawsuit. My understanding is that there are no charges pending from this case. Is that true, Alana? There are no criminal charges.
No, there are still charges. There are still charges.
There are still charges.
There are still
Yeah.
charges, and we and Vincent is being represented by Adante Pointer, who also has worked with Maria's family, and he filed. You know, actually, it was ironic when the Fair and Impartial Policing Working Group, you know, recommendations were presented to City Council. Was that same day that he filed a civil suit against the city of Berkeley. So.
Wonderful. Thank you. And then there was one other, somebody asked, who was it who actually authorized the use of lethal force? And there are some issues. We did get some raw footage, and we're just gonna let the lawyer sort through that, if you know what I mean. Some things it's not really appropriate for us to talk about. It's part of their legal configuration. And other things, somebody, it was Dina Tyler. Dina, do you want to talk about you're mentioning the San Francisco Mobile Crisis Team. They've hired peers with lived experience. Do you have any other information that you'd like to share with us? Dina Tyler, if she could be allowed to unmute or raise your hand. And thank you, Maria. Okay, Just wanted to.
Okay, now I think I can
please.
mute.
All right,
Okay,
go ahead.
I'm off mute. Okay, yes, the SCRT team, the San Francisco Street Crisis Response Team, they have now hired peers onto their mobile crisis teams. So they go out together with the clinician and the EMT. I'm with a group in Alameda County, peers advocating for compassionate crisis response services. And so we are trying to, and I'm consulting with the mobile crisis team in Oakland, which is called CAT. And so I'm consulting with them about, the process around trying to hire peers onto the crisis teams there. So there's really a big push in the Bay Area, but San Francisco is the first one that I know of that has peers on their team. They're hiring right now for 6 different teams. RAMS, the Richmond Area Multidisciplinary Services, is over the hiring peers and supervising them. So I'm in contact. I am talking with them about their training to try to bring it over to Alameda County as well, because we really need them on all the different mobile crisis teams. But if anybody would like to get in contact with me, we'd really like to make the connections here with you all around what were our efforts to bring this about too.
Thank you.
So I'll put my email in the chat.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Gigi. What do you?
I will share that Contra Costa County hired peers, but if you don't put for their mobile crisis response team, I have not been impressed with how they utilize them. So you have to value the individual, not just hire them and say we hired them, but then not give them an opportunity to be the first point of contact, because living experience, you'll see I have the LE behind my name as a family member. So I've seen it firsthand. I've seen the prongs on my loved ones from the taser, where it's like, and so for me, what we're doing with the Miles Hall Foundation in Contra Costa County, we kept pushing, and I hope you will, Maria, we kept pushing, we kept pushing, we kept pushing. And now we're doing a county-wide with all of the individuals and departments that intersect with the non-police response. So I'm on the design team with law enforcement from all over the county, EMS, the county leadership. I mean, they won't say his name, Miles Hall. I will. I always remind them why we're even doing it, because it would not have happened. It had not been for his loving mom, Ton Hall, who got a whole community behind her. Just as, I was working in Alameda when Kayla was killed, and I was really, great. It was great. But now assembly member, we started meeting with legislators, and assembly member Rebecca Bayer Khan has the 988 number. It's AB 988, vote for it. It's called the Miles Hall Lifeline Act. And we're trying to make sure the non-police response program that lifts up will be named after Miles, because you can't just keep killing people and then try and erase the history away. Angelo Quinto, who was killed, there's no more police putting their knee in people's neck. We see a video from his family that shows that they were on him, and then we get a police chief saying, oh, it was no longer, it shouldn't have happened for a half a second. He was the one who was, fearful. And then at NAMI, we create these brochures. When someone is a part of domestic violence, it's mandated that they have to leave a brochure with the family once they go out on the call. So we created these brochures with resources for the family members, so that, this is what you're experiencing, here are your resources, and then something for the peer too, right? The individual in crisis, so they had better understand and get the resources. In the middle of COVID-19, we're all suffering quite a bit. The suicide rates are up. Compassion is what is needed. These people live with a mental illness. They're not the mental illness. They live with the diagnosis. As we saw from Vincent, he's a highly intelligent man and should have been given the dignity, right, to not have charges brought against him and to have, his day. And I hope he does get a lawsuit against what happened, because that's the only way things change. And it's the community. So I really appreciate everyone here who's rallying behind him. I am worried, and I'll tell you this, Vincent, you do need to get some trauma-informed counseling. I mean, I couldn't even watch the video and you lived through it. So we got to make sure Vincent is taken care of, okay? So, and whoever is closest to him, make sure he gets his needs met as well.
Those are wise words. Thank you for that. I guess the other thing that interests me or is how did the police get there in the first place? I have been watching the Oakland situation and it looks like they have just adopted, if I'm not mistaken, a plan that would say that the fire department would be handling dispatch and that they would be dispatching. Carly, or Maria, do you guys know about, or any of you, I open it up, but it's just interesting. It's an interesting workaround because if the police don't know anything about mental health, I'm trying to figure out how the firefighters do or what's going on there. So maybe you can enlighten us.
You know, I can share an experience that I recently had where I showed up for a cop watch. Only it wasn't really cop watching, I was fire department watching.
Yeah, heard that.
And there was an elderly woman who appeared to perhaps be unhoused, and she was clearly experiencing both a medical and mental health episode. And they weren't great at all. They were demanding that she calm down. She kept saying things about how I have children, which was a great opportunity to say, I have kids too. Tell me about your kids. Or even if they didn't have kids, they could just say, tell me about your kids, you know, but instead they just showed how frustrated they were with the situation. They didn't even begin taking her vitals until they noticed that there were a couple of us watching them.
Yeah.
So they really don't know how to respond any better than the police do. These response teams really do need to be peers, community members, perhaps maybe a social worker, but social workers are also so intrinsically involved in the corporal system, you know, but some sort of medical professional along with that. You know, there are much better ways to do this.
Yeah, I think one of the things that they're going to be inputting or trying to gather input is what would the training? Who is it we're looking for to give that response? You know, what is the level? Do they have to be, you know, fully trained, you know, 12 years of school kind of thing? Or why don't you go ahead and take that, Gigi, and then we're going to move into.
Okay. So I actually recognize mental illness as a medical condition. So it's much more appropriate for me for an EMS worker to actually show up because that's who they release it to take. Most counties have a system in which they do the 51. I mean, here is backwards already because in a lot of counties, it's the officers who make the determination of whether it meets the criteria, right? So officers are making a medical. So it makes much more sense for EMS to work with social workers or peers to make the determination and get them there. Around training, there's many things you have to have living experience with. I think if law enforcement and EMS has a family member which mental illness affects 1 in 4, you're gonna carry more compassion for it because you have a better understanding of it. But again, consequences are the things that shift behaviors. Training does it.
For a fact, I'm with you. I'm with you. Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and invite Mariah. Why don't you go ahead and take my spot here? And why don't you lead folks through? You know, one of the things we're trying to do is we really. It's such a rich chat, and I really appreciate everybody's input on that. Mariah, why don't you go ahead and tell us where we're at next? And we do have some things we're asking for people on the call to consider. What we're saying is that if we have a lot of pressure, we can create an independent dispatch. If we have a lot of pressure, we don't want something that's under the fire department, under the police department. We have a mental health division in this city. Millions and millions of dollars we spend on it. We're separate from Alameda County in that way. So what's going on? So, Mariah, why don't you go ahead and talk about it?
Sorry, I was just making that face. I was like, co-responder, reading the chat. Okay, first I want to say, well, thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you for everyone showing up. Gigi Crowder, Maria Moore, Carly Brannon, your thoughts here and your personal lived experiences have been invaluable. Thank you for not only taking your time, but your energy and what you've had to relive to be here. So thank you, and I hope you do something nice for yourself after this also. And he's not on screen with us anymore, but Vincent, I hope you're still listening, and thank you for being here. And you want to keep fighting, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. So all power to you and to this community that wants to see change. So here are some next steps. We are going to drop into the chat some action items for you. And there's a couple things that you can do to get involved and stay involved here, and a couple different ways to go about it. I'm just going to look at this here. So on April 1st, we're going to have a mental health action response organizing party. This is for people that are passionate about continuing this conversation here in Berkeley. We talked about the special care units being developed. I think we have a lot of different ideas around that, how that could happen. We have a lot of different ideas about where that money should come from. So if you are passionate about getting this, an alternative response, a non-police response to mental health crisis, put April 1st into your calendar and get ready. This event tonight was hosted by Berkeley Cop Watch. If you want to get involved in Berkeley Cop Watch, if you want to jump in with the work that we are doing, and there's lots of different ways to be involved, from organizing to artwork, to writing, to investigative stuff. We need people on all different levels. We are having a Cop Watch volunteer orientation on Wednesday, April 7th. So that's on a Wednesday night, 2 weeks from now, same time, same place. And lastly, some of our fabulous volunteers have developed, shout out to Roshi and Avi, have developed this toolkit for you. If you click on the link that is in your chat right now, you're going to see, first off, you're going to see reminders about the Mental Health Action Party on the 1st and the Cop Watch orientation on the 7th. You will see the Zoom links for both of those events. And then you're going to see some other ideas and options for you to get involved right now, including some ways to talk to City Council about mental health and the special care units. So, what an evening. I am seeing some questions. So we have a lot more going on in the chat. We've got about 5 minutes left in our evening tonight, and we wanted to leave that time for community feedback, but I'm seeing a lot going on in the chat right now. So unless any other Cop Watch members or panelists, anyone want to give a closing remark, I think we have packed a lot of information and a lot of emotion into this evening. I know that we have a little bit of music prepared to take us out tonight, and so I'm going to suggest that we put that music on and that people continue to put their thoughts into the chat and stay involved. And a really heartfelt, sincere thank you to all of you and to Vincent, and let's continue on the good fight.
About to turn. The table about to turn. The table about to turn. Yeah. I've been flipping through my timeline, trying to get my mind right. My city cried out. I got to cool down, but I'm under pressure. Cooking with my Crisco. Look at where my fists go. A renegade when I'm in a rage. I got to cool down, but I'm under pressure. I keep my hands dirty, my mind clean. Got a new agenda with a new dream. I'm kicking out the old regime. Liberation, elevation, education.
DG, thank you so much for making the time. Harley, thank you so much for making the time. Everybody, Maria, Cheryl, everybody who's here. We're gonna do this. We're gonna dig deep, and we're gonna make some structural change, not window dressing. We're digging deep. We're gonna need thousands in the street, frankly. And for anybody else who wants to say anything, I think it's open, yeah. You don't mind a little background. You want to put your hand up? You got reactions down in the bottom. Go ahead. Go ahead. 510. There you go. 510-655-2503. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. This is Willie Phillips. You got my voice. My goodness. I didn't think my voice had any distinction. But I wanted to personally invite you to our upcoming third Equity Summit, and I'll tell you why it's important. Equity is about being able to treat people fairly, and that is something that I think all of you would agree. It is something that also we can learn from, based on the fact that we will be basically stressing elders that have grown up in South Berkeley as being those who can tell stories that we can learn from. But I really would like to invite you this coming Sunday at 7. And if someone who's here that can basically translate this in terms of a blast or something, it would be greatly appreciated in terms of your group. Thank you.
Give your information to Berkeley Cop Watch at Yahoo, and we'll amplify.
Okay, will do.
Go ahead, Aiden. What's your word? You can unmute.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for this talk. I really appreciate it. The first time I encountered police violence was when I was 16 years old, and I was in my living room, or I'm sorry, my bedroom. Seeing this and seeing how far the militarization of the police has gotten, it's very disturbing. And I'm happy that people like you are here, willing to speak about the issues. I'm happy that survivors of police brutality are here. And I will continue to do everything I can to make sure it stops, especially here in Berkeley. And I'm happy to be part of a growing movement of people who are willing to do that as well. And so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Aiden Hill, next mayor of Berkeley. There you go. Alicia Harger. Go ahead, unmute.
Hey, thank you guys for this event. It was fantastic. It was enlightening. You've done amazing work. And I just want to say to everybody who's left that, like, if you are agitated, if you're upset by this, like, now is the time. You have the omnibus bill in the city council. They're set to become, well, allegedly they will defund the police by 50%. Allegedly, we will get a mental health response unit. Allegedly, police will be taken out of traffic control. But we have to fight for that. So if you're fired up, if you're angry, if you cry because you're discriminated, that's the time that you need that.
Well said. You want to say a word?
Hold on. Thank you, Alicia. Go ahead, Andrew.
Oh, thank you. I've been fighting.
Oh, what's a Santiwa?
What? I've been fighting police violence since I was about 6 months old, And I dealt with it at many levels at an infant level and find it very complicated to work. So I think that you're going in the right direction. We just have to deal with a lot of these more, what you might say, grown up and infantile matters. And one I particularly noticed is the national security system, because that was the origin of a lot of the problems. And whatever you look at, we got to do better and keep on working at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Anybody else got a word? Anybody else want to speak out? You can raise your hand.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for being here. And I dropped the Equity Summit Series Part 3 in the chat. So look for it there.
Nice. Anybody else? All right, and one last time, we just want to give our love and prayers and support to Vincent. Justice for Vincent Bryan. Berkeley's going to know Vincent Bryan's name. Vincent is going to be uplifted by this movement. Carol, go ahead. Got to unmute yourself, though. Well,
sorry, I'm having a lot of tech problems. So I just want to affirm with what Kim stated, and I did put that in the chat, that just because someone has mental health professional title to it doesn't mean that they know how to relate to people. And we have to remember that a lot of the people are escalated into crisis because they've already had mental health staff contact and it hasn't been sufficient to develop a relationship with them and develop the kind of communication skills so that they wouldn't be going into repeat crises. Yeah, so it's not as easy as someone has a mental health title. And I put this in the chat. When I was very young, a long time ago, I started in the mental health field. And those years in the mental health field and I have a master's degree in community mental health, convinced me to get out of the mental health field so I could advocate for people against many of the mental health workers and the alleged treatment that was going on and give people a voice. So it isn't as simple as just a title or an education. And as some of you have already heard, Berkeley Mental Health's mobile crisis does not want to go out and see people without police backup. You know, they have fought this, and they've fought it even more so because of one incident with someone where a worker was attacked, but that worker may never have been attacked if that person had been able to get the mental health treatment he was seeking earlier. And that is a problem where people can't get access to local mental health treatment when they're seeking it. So it escalates into a crisis. I do believe the police, all of them need to be CIG trained in the 40-hour model. And the reason why I believe that is because there could be situations where peers even call for backup, but there could be situations where it doesn't even go through dispatch and the police come across somebody in crisis. There isn't enough time for the other model to get there, and they should know how to handle that situation. Situation with Vincent.
That's part of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think really that debate is really at the crux of the problem. Helen, why don't you go ahead?
I'm trying to speak, but I'm feeling a lot here with what I saw. What I carry is having to do a wellness check for a friend of mine about 4 years ago who was suicidal. And that's the last time I'll ever do a wellness check. What happened was it was traumatizing to her. I mean, we've managed to work that out, but I have to say, I don't know what I would have done if it weren't for NAMI and all the different resources. And how I look at it is these resources, people aren't connecting with the organizations that do have the resources to help us to be more compassionate towards people that are having crises. You know, we need to be that way. I mean, I've had my own crises, you know, in life. And I'm just really grateful that, you know, we're having this conversation. We're empowering the community and us to get involved. So I'm just hoping that more people do. I know I'm trying to get my own church more involved here. So doing whatever I can, because we do need support. I mean, I've got family members with mental health issues. You know, I've got friends. I've got people I love, and I don't want to see this happening, you know? You know, Vincent, he sat down. He sat down in that film. He squatted, he sat down. Nobody even said, hey, I see you're sitting down. That's the part of that film that just pisses the shit out of me. He sat down. Sorry, but thanks.
Well, my friends, we're going to have a lot of conversations, and hopefully with the Special Care Unit Task Force, with the RDA, with the consultants. But we need these conversations like Carol's talking about, well, the police should be trained. Honestly, I'm up to here with trained police. They all those cops in that thing all had what the BPD calls CIT training. You know why I know that? Because Chief Greenwood said, oh, we can't get enough cops to do the 40-hour Alameda County Sheriff training, so we'll just create some mush called CIT, and we'll have them do it for 8 hours, and we'll mandate that every cop in the department have it. They all have it, and even the ones who had 40 hours. So I'm sorry. Woo. Yeah, I'm not about it. I'm not about cops giving care. Cops are there to shoot people. That's what they do.
Yep.
Sorry. Anyway, I gotta go. I gotta call my dad. You guys, but see, the thing is, we gotta struggle together. I love you, Carol, and we're gonna wrestle and we're gonna fight about this. But this is our community. It's our community to figure out how we are going to best protect the safety of the public. That does not include shooting people in the face. All right, I'm trying to close this out, but there's so much conversation. Go ahead, Glenn. I don't want to tell anybody no. Go ahead.
I had a daughter who about over 15 years ago, schizophrenic, kept having violent reactions and would try to attack me. And so I called 911, and Berkeley cops came over. So maybe 4 or 5 times. Mm-hmm. One time there was one cop there, and he had about 4 other guys kind of following along with him. It seemed like a lot of people, but he was really, really good at de-escalating. I mean, she actually had a knife, and she didn't have it out, and she wasn't waving it around by then. But when they finally got there, I mean, I was like freaking out holding the cell phone. But he was really excellent. I was too rattled, of course, to figure out what his name was. But that was one time. But then John George should be held responsible too, because giving somebody a bus ticket back home with no money, what? Yeah. That's actually should not have been released with no backup. So John George is at fault too. There's so many things wrong with it. I've gotten on a roll and I could keep going, but there's a lot of mothers of the Voices of the Mothers is a group that's come out and I was with for a while. And I feel passionate about this, and you'll see me again. You've seen me before. And I'm back through all my changes, and I'm ready to roll because, well, I'm retired now. I might have some
Watch
time.
out, those retirees, man, they are hard. Go ahead,
Anyway,
Lana.
I hear
Thanks, Glenn, for bringing that up. I just want to say quick, from what Vincent told me, that he went to the police department to get his, because it was the police who took him to John George to get his wallet and his ID, and they refused to give it to him. They said, come back in 2 weeks. So, you know, John George and the BPD, who were just apparently toying with him. So who knows?
All right.
But we're
All
in
right,
this together, and we're growing stronger, and this is happening. This is happening. I can tell you. So, and Vincent is okay. I talked to him, and we're probably going to bring him over some chocolate ice cream tonight.
That's a great idea.
He likes ice cream. So
Go ahead, Becca. Somebody got to close us out.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone again. You know, I'm a relatively new person involved in Cop Watch, and I've gotten involved. I've been in Berkeley for 41 of my 51 years. I was born and raised here, went to the public schools. And this last year, just getting really involved in working with these amazing people who are like fully heart-centered. So this work is not just hard, it's also really inspiring. And the people that you will learn from and be mentored by in this work, and the people that you'll get a chance to do this work with, it also feeds your soul. So, you know, we make space for people to come and go, to offer what they can. So don't feel afraid of overdoing it. You have space to come in here and bring what you want to bring. You know, we all need to work together as a community to do this, you know, especially the white folks in this community. We need to step up and really speak about this. So please join us. Come to the organizing party. Come to the training that we're having coming up. It's going to be fun. We have a great time together. We love each other a lot. And thank you again for coming out tonight and being here. We're really grateful for you putting your heart out and being willing to watch this. And thanks again, you know, to all of the panelists for being here. Really appreciate your perspective and your time. Thank you, Berkeley community, our beloved community. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Blessings and love to all of you.
All right. So Max, we've had an offer. We have a 1-minute song to take us out for reals. For reals. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will.
Mm-hmm.
All right, party people. Have a great night, y'all.